The Township Committee meeting to order. Art, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by sending a copy of the notice along with the agenda of this meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Atlantic County Record, Record Journal, and current newspapers, stating this meeting would take place at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, June 20th, 2016, at the municipal building, Mays Landing, New Jersey. Ms. Gatto?
Here.
Mr. Gishard? Mr. Kurtz?
Here.
Mr. Shanker?
Here.
Mayor Silva?
Here. Can we, before we get into that resolution, could you just fill us in on some of the particulars? Who's paying for it? How long they'll wear it? Is it going to last the whole day? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All those questions.
Just briefly, as you're aware, I didn't enter into this lightly. We had been looking at body cameras for about a year and a half now. My opinion is it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to the tools for law enforcement. And initially, I was a little reluctant about this for privacy concerns. However, once the Attorney General promulgated guidelines on this and really restricted access to the video, I was a little more comfortable with them. And I would say in about the last 7 to 8 months, I have actually seen a need for them. Now, there's a lot of research that's been done on them, and typically departments that employ the body cameras, they see a reduction in use of force incidents, internal affairs complaints. I will say that, relatively speaking, we have a low incidence of those two things. So that wasn't my primary, I guess, the benefit of them. I wasn't that much concerned about that. It was really protecting the officer and balancing that against the privacy of our residents. And in the last few months, we've had a couple of incidents where individuals have attempted to antagonize the officers and then videotape them with phones. And my big concern is not how our officers are going to react to that, because they're well-educated, they're trained well. I'm confident that they're going to do the right thing, but I don't want, God forbid, it ends up into an altercation. The officer has to defend himself, and I'm stuck with a partial videotape that doesn't show the whole incident. So that really was the determining factor for me, the command staff. And I will tell you that the police department generally, the rank and file, they welcome body cameras. We've had in-car video for many years now. We were one of the first departments in the county to implement that. And the officers love having that video. Now, the difference, obviously, is that, when you're in a vehicle, you're in public. People can see in the windows of the car. With body cameras, officers, they're going to be in houses at times. They're going to be one-on-one with people. But when the Attorney General promulgated the guidelines, there were restrictions on them. The cameras can't be used in schools, medical facilities, and some other institutions, unless there's a call for service there where they have to use it. An officer is required to tell a person that, listen, I have a body camera and this is being recorded. So that's required under the Attorney General guidelines. There's also some provisions within the guidelines that permit an individual, whether it be a suspect or a victim, to ask the officer, would it be okay to turn it off? And depending on the circumstances, the officer would be able to turn the camera off. But that would be, again, a supervisor would have to review that later. But there are a number of mechanisms within the guidelines that really tighten it up, that made me more comfortable with it. And at this point, I believe, it's going to protect our community and it's going to protect our residents, because if an incident happened, it isn't just the officer that's impacted, it's also the entire community. You're going to have people come in here that don't even know where Hamilton Township is right now, and forget it, it's going to blow up. Now, I'm hopeful that will never happen, but we're in a position right now where day to day, I think it's beneficial. And just for the audience's benefit, 65% of our call volume involves people that don't live in Hamilton Township. We have, obviously, the county schools, regional shopping district, state and county roads that go through our township. So, around 65% of everything that we handle involves people who don't reside here. And that's something to keep in mind. So while we have, I feel, a good relationship with our various communities in Hamilton Township, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we're going to be dealing with day in and day out. So that's just an overview from my perspective.
Cost.
From a cost perspective.
Cost perspective, very important. It's around I don't have my notes with me, but around $49,000 to completely implement. We have forfeiture funds for this that we've had build up for a number of years. So we would use those funds to implement the program, which means it would not involve any taxpayer funds to implement this. It would be completely from that forfeiture fund. And it's also important to note that we would have community meetings before implementing this in different areas of the township. So residents can come out, ask questions, get to see them, and just become familiarized with them. And the other thing is we're supposed to put it out on social media and things of that nature. And while these are things we would normally do, it's also in the guideline that that's what departments are required to do.
And will we highlight them at Public Safety Day as well?
Absolutely,
August? Okay.
absolutely.
And I like the idea of going into the communities and having that community meeting so they do understand.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes, and while there is an Attorney General guideline that's basically, just a framework for this, we still have to develop our own policy that's specific to Hamilton Township. And I think those meetings will help us form that policy with, input from the residents. While there are certain things, we're mandated to do, there are other areas of that policy that, we can tailor to our needs.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Anyone have any questions of the Chief? No? Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that you're progressive enough to want to go forward with this and make sure that you're not only protecting your personnel, our personnel, but the residents as well, and anybody that you're going to stop. So,
Mayor, may I comment quickly?
please.
I have two comments. One is, this should be submitted to the GIF Fund Coordinator, because I can tell you from my own experience, this will reduce your premiums. The second thing I will tell you is I've recommended this for private clients that have nightclubs, and it has been the single most effective defense tool I've ever seen. When the plaintiff's attorney calls me up and I say, well, I'm going to send you a video of your client behaving poorly. In every case that we've done that, it eliminated a lawsuit. So there's two financial positives there.
Point well taken. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
very
that. What's your pleasure with the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution in support of the body-worn cameras for the police department.
Second?
A motion is second. Any other questions or comments? Rita, please.
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Okay, the next item, it's a public hearing. It's the adoption of ordinances. It's ordinance number 1823, 2016, an ordinance amending Chapter 105 of the Animals of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for annual licensing fees for the animals. It's a public hearing. Does anyone in the public wish to speak?
This was basically just a timing change in the existing
Right.
ordinance
For
so
the
that we
shots.
can change the clinic.
Right, the clinic times, right?
Yes.
Anyone
Move
in
to
the pub-
close, move to close public portion.
Second?
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Pardon?
All those in favor?
Oh, yeah, all those in favor? Yeah,
Aye.
thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Move to adopt 1823, 2016.
Second?
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and
Thank
adopted.
you. B, ordinance number 1824, 2016, an ordinance to create a panhandling and begging ordinance in the Township of Hamilton, the County of Atlantic. This was introduced at the last meeting, and for those of you who weren't here, I think there's a good umbrella around it. Also, it doesn't apply to those who have coin drops, just so you know. So there's been several incidences in the township that have created an awareness of why we needed this ordinance. So
It was
committee,
something that was brought to us by the prosecutor as a suggested ordinance.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the public wish to speak on this?
Move to close the public portion?
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Move to adopt 1824, 2016?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Thank you. Number 5, introduction of ordinances. Public hearing to be held on July 5th, 2016. Ordinance number 1825, 2016, an ordinance authorizing a tax agreement between DF Equities of New Jersey, LLC-5230 Atlantic Avenue, and the Township of Hamilton, providing for a 5-year exemption from taxation and payment in lieu of taxes regarding the construction project that was described on our, we've had him on our notes. Mike, Mike or Phil, did you want to say anything about this? Phil?
Yes, Mayor, this is the follow-up to the resolution the committee adopted at the last meeting, where Mr. Craig was on the record as far as the rationale for the requested tax abatement program for this site. This is the first one in the business park, so this is a
Yeah, it's
landmark, and as Mr. Sandman has been saying since the committee adopted the ordinance, you know, it's the test case, basically, and it's, you know, our first baby steps. From here, we will be evaluating the whole process and moving forward, hopefully with others soon.
Well, I like the fact that he's expanding his business. It'll create jobs. He'll also be the so-called test case.
Correct.
And I think there's other people interested in taking this program and utilizing it to expand their business. Bobby, I know you sit as solicitor to the Industrial Commission.
I do, and Gordon Craig is the owner of the applicant that's before you this evening. He also sits on the Industrial Commission, and I happen to represent both. So I removed myself from putting this together and assigned it to my associate, Evan Laboff, who I believe did a really, really good job. So I don't take a position with respect to the ordinance,
No, that's fine.
but it is the first one, and it went fairly smoothly.
Great.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to introduce the ordinance?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? Rita, let's get a roll call on the introduction on this, too.
Sure. Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
And Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
Thank you.
And I think it's just worth noting, you know, not only that this is the first in our industrial park, and we do have the 5-year tax abatement there, just as a reminder, but we also have that now in the historic district as part of our downtown plan. And, you know, we do want to encourage people to come and bring their business here, bring their improvements here. And we are doing as many steps as we possibly can to encourage growth and activity and jobs, and letting people know that Hamilton Township's doors are open and we're here for you. And part of that has to be our employees also being a part of that puzzle, and making sure that the experience on the street, whether you're a police officer, whether you're public works, whether you're an inspector, we're in the business of customer service. And so we want people to come here, and whether it's a tough issue, maybe they're going to court and have to see the prosecutor, whatever it is, it might be not a happy message in some cases, but we can still do it positively, fairly, and with respect. So it's all a partnership together in terms of the policies we're making and our employees, and then the community coming in and being our partner in those redevelopment plans. So I just wanted to kind of state that for the record.
Fine, thank you.
Good point.
And for purposes of the next agenda, it should have 2 listings. It should have the adoption for the ordinance, and then the item directly below that should be to authorize the mayor to execute the 5-year tax exemption
Okay.
agreement.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve items A through items H.
Second?
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7, personnel, appointment to fill the unexpired 5-year Industrial Commission vacancy of Rocco Policarpo, term ending December 31st, 2016.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Sue Hopkins.
I'll second that motion. The motion is second. Any questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. I think we all feel about Rocco Policarpo the same way we felt about Carmen
Yes.
Chitola. I mean, the years of service that he put on the Industrial Commission, I guess, Bob, what's almost equal to Carmen in terms of time, maybe at least 35 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you
sure.
had a trio of people there, from Bob Revell to Carmen Chitola to Rocco Policarpo, that they had over 100 years between the three of them in terms of service to the community, and it's very difficult to replace people like that, but I'm sure this appointment will bring a lot to the table too, Amy.
Yeah, I think she will bring a lot.
Okay. B, appoint Keith Melillo, Keon Osby, William Howes, and Christian Mandela to fill the pending full-time officer vacancies at the current academy salary rate effective July 21st, 2016, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, so as you're aware, you and I as a safety liaison sat in the interviews with a really extremely talented batch of young men and women who want to be full-time officers here. And I think it's a really great list that we have, and these top four were really exceptional. One of them is here
In the audience.
in the audience, and it's nice that you came here. And I just think we're going to really benefit from having, it's a diverse group in terms of background, experience, what have you, but a really committed group, and a group that looks that they want to invest their livelihood here in Hamilton Township and kind of be here for the long haul, which is something, of course, we certainly look to have. So I'm really excited, and make a motion to appoint.
Second?
The motion is second. Any questions or comments? Rita?
Well,
Yeah.
discussion on the motion. If any one of you feels that you would not vote for any one of the four, I need to know that now. Having heard nothing, you may proceed with the vote.
Thank you. Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Silva?
Thank you. And thank you and welcome aboard.
Yes, welcome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, appoint Edward Hyman Jr. as full-time temporary laborer at $15.30 per hour effective July 5th, 2016, not to exceed 11 months.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Appoint Cove lifeguards and alternate beach badge checkers for the 2016. Bobby, can I take both of them together?
Unless somebody's going to object to one of them.
I'm going to need you to take them separately.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
I think I need to abstain from one.
All right. Okay, thank you. Appoint McKenna Labista as a lifeguard at $9 per hour effective 2016.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
2, appoint Andrea Seeger as a lifeguard at $9 per hour effective 6/30/2016, contingent upon successful completion of the lifeguard certification.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Abstain, she's my cousin.
Thank you. Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
And Mayor Silva?
Yes.
3 yes and 1 abstention.
Okay, number 3, appoint McKenna Labista as an alternate beach badge checker at $8.38 per hour effective 6/21/2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
And Mayor Silva?
Thank you. Before I read number 4, Michael, I noticed they're both lifeguards and beach badge checkers.
It's so they could do both jobs.
So they could do both jobs? Is that what it is? That's great. 4, appoint Andrea Seeger as an alternate beach badge checker at $8.38 per hour effective June the 21st, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, any comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Abstain again, she's my cousin.
Mr. Kurtz,
Yes.
Mr. Schenker,
Still your cousin?
Yeah, she's still my
Yes.
Mayor Silva.
Yes.
It's 3 yes and 1 abstention.
Okay. Minutes of June 16, 2016.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes of June 16, 2016, executive session meeting.
So moved.
Second?
A motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
And Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All
Thank
yes
you.
and carried.
B, payroll and bills, bill list totaling $1,592,033.91.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Rita?
Ms. Gatto?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Wow. Reports, Administrator.
Nothing to report tonight, but
How
I'm
was
going to send out.
vacation?
Vacation was good.
Okay.
Good. But
That's
I'm
a
going to send
report.
out an email report.
Okay. Solicitor.
I was going to have a very lengthy presentation tonight, but I decided against it.
Yeah, you looked at the clock, didn't you? You looked at the clock. Okay, thank you.
You sure, Bob?
I could, go back to it, Arthur.
That's quite all right.
Mr. Engineer.
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I have a report dated June 20th. Under inspections, I personally performed 3 inspections out at Artist Walk subdivision. They were inspections for final COs for residential houses. I also have a line item here where we talked about Malaga Road reconstruction project. I indicated in my report that it was going to begin on June 20th, which is today. It's actually going to begin on Wednesday. My interest with that project, on the Malaga Road project, had to do with the crossing of Jackson Road. As you know, the South Jersey Gas is running a gas main on Jackson Road, and my interest was that the crossing of the gas line of Jackson Road where it intersects with Malaga is completed prior to the construction of Malaga Road, because we don't want to be, we'll have a moratorium when that road is built.
Are they
Right.
going to do a directional bore?
They
Are
did, they
gonna-
did a directional bore the middle of last week, so
Great.
we've beat the schedule of Malaga Road, which
Good.
is,
That's
which is
great.
good
Makes
news.
you happy, doesn't it?
Mr. Malaga out there.
I spoke to the contractor for the Malaga Road project, and he's going to begin on Wednesday. He's telling me, it's not my contract, and I'm not the municipal engineer on this, but I'm trying to stay informed. He's telling me the road's going to be closed for about 2 weeks, is what he's telling me. It's a 30-day contract, but he's telling me for about 2 weeks it'll be closed, and the last 2 weeks will be, shoulder restoration and other miscellaneous. But it'll be closed starting Wednesday for approximately 2 weeks.
And is adequate posting out there?
There's been posting out there for 2 weeks now, so he's met the requirements, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
There's been a couple other road opening permits. South Jersey Gas has applied for. They seem to be busy with road opening permits this summer. Holy Cross Cemetery, they began their site clearing about a week and a half ago. We've been out there just on an as-needed basis, just to make sure they're following the limits of clearing. Last week, we attended a meeting with the Hamilton Township MUA regarding a sewer and water main replacement project. Actually, 2 projects, Linwood and 3rd Street, Linwood Avenue and 3rd Street, that entire block, they're going to replace sewer and water. There's 2 houses. This is by the Duberson School. They're going to replace water and sewer. It affects 2 houses that front on that street. My main interest with going to that meeting was to make sure that the residents have adequate, ingress, egress to their properties, and most important that, with the road reconstruction that they're going to do, because it's going to be full road reconstruction, that they
Thank
follow
you.
our road ordinance.
Good.
So, and then there's a small section on Atlantic and 19th Street that there's a small replacement they're going to do on a water main, so. Buffalo Pike Associates, they're telling me in about a week and a half, they're going to start that connector road between the Wrangleboro Jug Handle and Volunteer Way, so we'll be starting inspections on that. They're telling me on or about July 1st, and that's a 60-day project.
Okay.
Very good.
And nobody has told you any stores going in there yet, huh?
I can't get any information on
It's like
stores.
top
I asked-
secret.
It's top secret, but
Look at Phil, he's smiling, he doesn't know anything either.
Yeah.
I think he was going to do this in a phase-in type of thing. He was going to complete this phase now, right?
Improvements for now, use it to clear the site to help market, and try to attract.
Okay. Good. Is that it, sir?
yes, thank you.
Thank you. John?
I think I'd like to just mention that this past weekend, they held, Friday, is Tie Day, was held at the park, Gaskell Park, here in town. It was put on by Andre Pinson from the Barber Shop, Bobby Laws, and Coach Edmonds, the three gentlemen who really were responsible for spearheading it. They presented some awards that were really nice for Fatherhood Buzz Awards to the recipients from our local area. That was important. The crowd was a little light, but it was a great event, beautiful day, and I thought that it's something that'll probably grow every year is what I would imagine, and I'm hoping for. So again, that was a great event. Also, Anytime Fitness opened today. I just want to mention that Mike Colazzo did an amazing and expensive job on rehabbing the building that used to be the hardware store. I encourage everybody to stop by and thank him for helping breathe new life into our Main Street.
Yeah.
That's really it. Thank you.
You know, you're mentioning Friday is Tie Day. I think what I heard a lot of comments from the people there Saturday was Gaskell Park is so underutilized. And it's such a beautiful setting, you know, facing the river there. And, you know, it's hardly ever see anything going on there, and it's so big. And I think a lot of people couldn't get over it because obviously when you compare it with War Memorial, you can put about 10 or 20 of those inside of that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it was a good event, John. Thanks for bringing it up, okay? Appreciate it. Art?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what John said about this Fatherhood Buzz. It was a great event. You know, the day before Father's Day, where, you know, we all, or most of us, get showered with gifts from our children, they honor the fathers who actually do more. They do things for kids that aren't their own, and they do it without looking for anything in return. They do it just to make sure that these kids have a direction in life and make sure that they're finding out what is out there for them instead of, you know, like they say, if you don't have help at home or you don't have a good family life, you're going to go somewhere to find family, and it could be with the wrong people. So as a coach a long time with my kids, I've seen it. I've seen where kids, if we didn't lead them in the right direction or make sure that they were on the soccer field or on the ball field, that they may not have turned out the way they did. And this organization looks for people who do that on a regular basis. And I'll tell you what, the recipients that they picked were all very good recipients. So it's more of a community event that really shows you the people, the gentlemen that are out there doing a little bit more than just being a dad to their own kids. And it was great to be there, and I was very happy that they invited me and included all of us in that ceremony. So that's it, Roger. That's all I have.
Thanks, Art. Aim?
Yeah, I echo all the comments about the Father's Day celebration. It was really well done. Also want to commend the Spread the Love volunteers. Barb Conley had spearheaded that activity, which I think was the week prior. Just really two great events that just volunteers came together to put on to make a positive atmosphere for families to go and spend time together. It was really nice. The attendance was light there as well, which is a little upsetting because people are putting time and money and donations out to do these things. And I would just kind of mention to people to just pay attention to the things in our Facebook or on our sign or on our website, or just word of mouth talking to other people about what's going on, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things that people are putting together to make this a positive place, and a place where kids feel supported and families feel supported, and that there's things to do that are good things to do. Same thing with the Hope All Day Center doing things for that community as well. So a lot going on. Local businesses, the Lauderdale Pub has a cornhole tournament coming up this summer. So there's just a lot of things at our local establishments that people can do for really not a lot of money if they just pay attention a little bit. Things is Hometown Celebration coming up on Saturday and Sunday, so that's going to be a pretty awesome time, I think. Hopefully Reverend Ash has started his rain prayers. Yeah, his weather prayers. But it's always been an awesome event in the past, and I'm sure it will not disappoint. So looking forward to that. And just we'll wish everybody a happy 4th of July. We won't be back that Monday. We'll be here that Tuesday. So just a note on that change. I don't know, Chief, can I mention the thing we emailed about? Okay. So the another big event, we haven't really had a lot of National Night Out activities in the last couple of years, but it looks like we're going to partner with the Hamilton Mall and our fire departments, our first responder groups, to move our Public Safety Day to National Night Out and to do a really big presentation and community event in partnership with the Hamilton Mall, which is great. John Powell is such an awesome partner here, and his staff, and so I think that's going to be really something to look for, pretty major for our area. So again, just something else to keep an eye out for. That's it.
You know, it's the other thing too, on the celebration that was in the park on Saturday about Friday is Tie Day. Just have to commend, Chief, your department. You had a good a number of officers come out there and interact with the people, and I think that's part of that community policing, to let all the young people know who the police are, and you know, they're there to be your friends, to not be afraid of in any way. And I think it went over very smooth that day, so I commend you and your department for stepping up on that. Every year, the ARC of Atlantic County sends us a check. It's actually in lieu of it's a tax donation. They don't pay taxes. They're a tax-exempt organization, but they recognize the fact that they have a few homes in our township, and every year they send us a check. It's a small amount of money. It's for $2,000. However, it's always appreciated. And you know, there are people in these tax-exempt organizations who belong to the community and like to give back a little bit. So I commend them on that. The week before, the Sheriff's Department put on a great program over at the Lenape Park on the other side of the lake where the campground's there, hooked on fishing. And you know, that I didn't even know that day throughout New Jersey was you could fish regardless of where you are in any stream, any lake without a license. And it was fun to watch the kids over there, from catching the smallest little fish to one who caught a catfish was about this big, but they were so excited. It was fun to watch them out there. And the Sheriff's Department did a great job in overseeing that, so I'd like to acknowledge that. Movies under the stars. I did go Friday night, and someone said, "How come you come here for these movies? They're kids' movies." I said, "Yeah, but I don't get popcorn at home." And I'm telling you, anybody, you want to go to a nice event, they do a great job. I have to commend the Mays Landing Business Group because they reach out to the community in many ways, not just at hometown, but with every one of the events that they put on. It's certainly we're pleased that you are who you are and what you do in this community. During the week, Phil and I had a chance to meet with the owner of the Mays Landing Country Club, and I've invited the owner and his grant writer to our next meeting so they could explain to committee what they'd like to do on the back end of their golf course. And they have 45 acres at the back of their golf course that they're not going to expand in any way into the golf course, but they would like to create a park back there. And the lady that they brought in, she has her firm in Washington, D.C., and they're looking to get a feasibility grant just to see how it would fit and if it makes sense to put it there. And Phil and I had a chance to look at the plan, at least the overview, right, the conceptual, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Anybody who wants to do things like that in our community, especially on that end, because we don't seem to have, although we have a lot of open space in this town, but to see a nice park where there could be like a passive park with walking paths and whatnot. But for those of you who have an occasion, come to our next meeting. They're going to talk about it in front of committee, and I think if anyone has any questions, it would be a good time to bring it up, okay? So I hope those of us who are fathers had a great Father's Day. My neighbor said to me, "You know, Roger, I don't know why it is on Father's Day I get all these gifts and then I got to do all the cooking." I said, "That's because on Mother's Day your wife does the cooking." So basically it goes two hands, so. But at any rate, with that, I'll open up. Anyone in the public wish to speak? Russell? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, he's got a whole folder of stuff.
I left the binder at home. My name is Russell Bongiovanni Sr., live at 42 Fox Hollow Drive, Victoria Point, Mays Landing. I'm here to talk about these no parking signs that the builder posted at Victoria Point. They've probably been there for 6 months, but I just saw them. I wasn't paying any attention. It's not like me,
Does
but
anybody follow this?
it means I'm getting old, I guess. Anyway, these signs are posted all over, so about a week ago, this past weekend, I sent an email message to Michael Jacobs, and unfortunately, he was away. And then about Wednesday afternoon late, I called the planning department, spoke to Mary, and it was late in the day, and I explained to her what I was looking for is the document or the subdivision approval requiring no parking on the streets, and said she would get to it. Unfortunately, Phil Soteria was out of town Friday. So what I'm leading up here is everyone was trying to help me, but they just weren't around. But today, Mike sent me an email message, copied Phil, and Phil is looking into what document has dedicated or making the development dedicated streets to the city for the purpose of having no parking on it. And that's what I'm working on right now. But what I'm concerned with, Mary called me up today from the planning department, and she said she's looking at a map, and it might not. The streets I think have to be, according to REFA or something, the streets have to be 30 feet wide. If they're 30 feet wide, then there's no restrictions for parking. So I guess I didn't go out and measure the streets. But what I'm leading up to is I'd like to see the document that's requiring Victoria Point to allow no parking. That's number one. I assume it would come through the planning department, through their subdivision approval. Somewhere there has to be a document requiring that. So that's what I'm concerned with. And basically, if this is enforced and it becomes a rule, based on the 277 homes we have at Victoria Point, we would have anywhere between 700 and 900 cars at Victoria Point. Unfortunately, we have 161 twins, which allows one car in the driveway. And I guarantee you there's something in their garage, and it's not a car, because a lot of them have I would call it a basement, but it's a living area, I'm sure. So that means they're going to have one car. So where do they park the second car is going to be the next problem if this is enforced. A lot of homes there, because of economics, have 3, 4, and 5 cars. So where I live on 42 Fox, if I had company and my driveway was full, I would have to drive a half a mile to the clubhouse and then either get a ride back or walk back a half a mile and then walk back again to get my car. This could be a catastrophe. So I'm really concerned about it. And based on my discussions today with Mary, I just like to see the copy of the subdivision that requires no parking on the streets. That's number one. So that's where we are. So I'm just waiting. And again, I know Phil's on this like he always is, and Michael is. So as soon as we see that, then I'll know what we're dealing with. But based on what she said today, it threw me off a little bit, because she said, looking on the map, all the streets are 30 feet or wider, or at least 30 feet, which allows on-street parking. So there's a conflict here somewhere. And I hope she's right.
Okay.
Okay? So
wait till the information surfaces.
Yeah. But I just want to bring it to the Township Committee's attention.
Go ahead.
I think our engineer has a comment.
I don't want to jump in. I was going to wait for you to be done.
I'm done.
At 4 o'clock today, I was in Mary's office, and she had the subdivision plans, and she asked me to copy the sheets of the plan that show parking, no parking. I have those with me. I'm going to make a copy tomorrow, drop off a copy of that to Mary. If you give me your email address, I could email that document to you early in the morning also. But Mary, I was in her office 4 o'clock today, and she asked me to make a copy, so we're on it.
According to the map, is every street no parking?
I didn't look at it closely, but it shows where the areas of no parking and where the signs are to be located.
All right, the signs are very confusing, that's number one. There's a sign, but it's just like anything. There's a sign on a street. How far does that sign have an effect on what part of the street? Some signs have arrows, meaning left and right, meaning this way, but there's nothing at the other end of the arrow. So it's a point to infinity, I call it.
After the meeting, how about we connect, and I'll give you my business card, and I'll
Sure.
work on this. I'll make a copy of the map, but I guess it's for you, and I could work through this with you and determine what areas are for parking and no parking. I'm happy to do that.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
welcome.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor, if I may direct a question to our engineer.
Go ahead.
Do you know this, by the way, I'm here as a resident. I want to make that clear for the record. Okay, I'm here as a resident. The engineering of the front retention basin to Victoria Point, the builder is working with the township because of the overflow and the percolate at the small retention basin at Deerfield in West Jersey is not perking. So I think, is it the builder has to submit plans to you, and that's what you're waiting for?
I've met with Matt Doran, the engineer. He's come up with a solution. I've informally accepted that solution, and the solution is going to be to connect the inlet that's on West Jersey Avenue directly into the larger basin. We're going to miss that nice retaining wall with the landscaping, and we're going to fill in that basin that's out there that's holding water. So he's come up with a solution. I've informally accepted it. He is preparing the final plan, and as soon as he sends that to me, I can approve that administratively.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
See,
Pretty
you
good
did well.
service, huh?
Hey, get any better, I couldn't handle it.
Thank you, Russ, for your comments. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak?
Move to close the public portion?
Second?
Motion is second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second. Motion and comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.